my fellow tutorial followers here. This is Storm 3, aka Ken, and I'm back once again with the next part, or the next installment of our VoidWorld 2.4 character modeling tutorial. This time we're going to be working on our character's head, as we discussed. First thing you're going to need to do is go to File, Open, and open up your scene that we created last time when we created the reference planes for our character that we're going to be modeling. Go ahead and load that up. Once you have that loaded, I'm going to go ahead and switch into the 3D perspective viewport so you can see what it should look like and where they should be positioned. Notice they'll be centered. That's your front viewport plane that we created with the image on it, and it's kind of centered down the middle of the center axis line here. Same thing for the side viewport that we created, which is actually going to be viewable from the right viewport down the center roughly, and they're kind of offset just a little bit from the center axis here, and the reason being is because this is where we're going to do all of our modeling at. So we need this area to be empty, and we need our planes back far enough so we can actually model and still be able to see the reference planes. Alright, when you are satisfied that you have your reference plane scene that we created the last time loaded up, go ahead and click where it says Custom and go back to Front Viewport. Then hold down the Alt key. Just to get familiar with this, hold down the Alt key and the left mouse button would rotate if you were able to rotate in orthographic view. Let me go ahead and switch back to perspective so you can see. Alt key, left mouse button lets you rotate the scene. Alt key, middle mouse button lets you pan, which is move your objects around in the scene. Alt key and right mouse button lets you zoom in and out. If you hold down the Alt key and the right mouse button and drag to the right, you zoom in. Drag to the left, you zoom out. Okay, and some other hotkeys you will need to know about is the W key will let you move your objects around in the scene. The E key on the keyboard will let you rotate your objects depending on what you have highlighted, and the R key will let you scale your objects, which will come in very handy during our modeling on this character's head, as you'll see here shortly. Some other keys you'll need to know is the Shift key on the keyboard, which the way that I have my hotkeys set up to the Silo hotkey set and the defaults that I have set, the Shift key allows you to access the selections, and you'll be able to add more items to the selection without losing the items that you've already selected using the Shift key. And also, if you use the middle mouse button, you can actually select through the object to select something on the back side. Another thing you'll need to know how to do is to select edge loops, and there's various ways to do this. One of the quickest ways that we do is just to double click the actual edge loop in question, and if it is one continuous loop all the way around the model, it should actually select the whole loop all the way around, and you should be able to see that. Some of the other hotkeys you'll need to know is the F5 lets you maximize the viewport and remove all of the visual tools toolbar over here, and I'll do that so you can go ahead and see that real quick. And notice how that took it all away, and all you have is one toolbar at the bottom. And to go back so you can see your visual tools again, press the F5 key again. And that's exactly where we want to be. Now we're going to go ahead and go back into the front viewport by clicking where it says Custom and clicking back on Front. Oh, one quick note, I want you to see all the options that we have checked here so that you can have your scene set up exactly the same way. Show Mesh on Selected, Show Mesh on Unselected, Show Vertices, Show Edges, Show Selected Polygons. And then, of course, we'll change these throughout the modeling that we're doing so that we can be able to view only certain points at one time. That way they don't get in the way and it don't become too complicated to actually adjust the vertices and whatnot. At this point, go ahead and click back on Front to go back to the front orthographic viewport. And once you have that selected, now go ahead and make sure that you have all of your options set up correctly in your defaults by going to Edit, Options, And of course you want the instant help shown. Smart tips options, I have this turned off. Being a new user, which I'm sure you are if you're watching the tutorial, you may want to display this, and this has different options for time that it can be displayed on the screen. This basically gives you a heads up on some of the hotkeys to access different options in the program and to activate different things such as creating polygons and whatnot. The radio menu options, you can change those if you like. I just basically left it, the defaults are pretty much the defaults. Show hotkeys, right mouse button, activation enabled. Transform values, got that set to fixed position enabled. Real-time selections enabled. Soft selection options, it's currently set to surface, which is a good option to have, but as you can see I currently do not have soft selection enabled, and you're not going to want to have it enabled either until we actually get further along in the tutorial, when you're going to be actually almost forming the model like clay and whatnot. Then soft selection can come in very handy, but until then you do not want this. Go to the snapping options and make sure snapping is disabled, so click that to uncheck it. I think that's another error that I need to talk to Estonia about. The snapping options, snapping enabled, no matter how many times you uncheck that and exit out of the program and come back in, it automatically re-enables that option for some reason. Multi-selection, tweak multi-selection, you really don't want these enabled right now because, like I said, it's going to get pretty complicated working on the character's head, which is the most difficult part of the character to work on, which is why I chose to do this and focus on this first and foremost, because once we get this out of the way, the rest of the character will be a snap. Okay, I do have tweak point pick checked, and allow loop slide through mixed end polygons should be also checked, so I go ahead and click on that for you. And manipulator goes with selection in manual mode. And polygon edge cursor control extrusion options I currently have set to half orient, which makes VoidWorld act a lot more like Silo. And another option they have that you can set if you wish is use shoulder style edge extrusion, which just makes when you extrude like from an edge, instead of having a single thin line of polygons coming out, it makes it more of a 3D corner like, almost like a shoulder type extrusion that comes off of it. And if you have not already done so, go ahead and make sure that you hit reset hotkey style and set that to silo hotkey style, because those are the keys that we're using. If you're already familiar enough with VoidWorld or another modeling program, you can select the other style if you wish, but please note that all the keys we mentioned during the tutorial will be based on the silo style hotkey selection. Alright, once you have all those set up correctly, I'll just briefly show you the preferences. This is where you can set your doc caption scheme, which changes the way VoidWorld looks. I currently have mine set to imaginary, and then the vertex size is 3. Startup subdivision level is currently set to 2. I'm going to set this to 1, and the selection radius, we're going to drop this down to 6, and left right invert is selected. And also the other option I have is switch paint select from middle mouse button to left mouse button. This is more of a preference than anything, but it's because I'm so used to using paint select all the time for everything, and I like to be able to use the left mouse button to do my paint selection. And once you have that all set to the correct options, go ahead and hit apply. And then if you have not done so already and you've just upgraded to the latest beta of VoidWorld 2.4, go ahead and hit Customize Tools. And when this screen comes up, if it comes up here, okay, when this comes up, you're going to want to go to where it says Reset All. Click that, and then the screen will go away. And you need to apply these settings to the actual program. And then go ahead and do the same thing for customize streamline tools. You're going to want to hit reset all in this as well. This will not go away until you click the apply button. And then of course you do the same thing on radial menus. Reset all, apply. Once you have these things all set correctly the way that they need to be, and the reason that we need to reset all those to the defaults is because whenever there's a new beta that comes out of VoidWorld, the options change frequently as he's making updates and adding stuff to the user interface and stuff. And because of this, in order to get the newest options to be displayed and available to you, you have to reset the menu options so that it knows to go ahead and display the new stuff that he has made changes to. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, it looks like we are almost 10 minutes into this recording, which according to YouTube, I have to be very careful about how long I record. Looks like we're into 12 minutes. I need to go ahead and stop this, and I'll pick up with the next part. Thanks for listening to the tutorial, and stay tuned. We're getting ready to jump into the good stuff.